Tonight, 3 Christmas stories. Some things should never come down the chimney.
In some southern states, people don't talk about Santa Claus the same way they do everywhere else, because there's another version of him that doesn't belong in songs or decorations. They call him the Red-Horned Santa. The stories say he appears only on Christmas night, never in busy neighborhoods, never where lights are bright or people are awake. He prefers abandoned places, empty houses, burned-out farmsteads, old porches that haven't heard footsteps in years. He is always tall, too tall. His coat is red, but not the cheerful kind, darker and heavier, like the color has soaked into the fabric over time. And beneath his hood, curling upward through the shadows, are 2 dark red horns, smooth and polished, as if they'd been worn down by years of use. No one ever sees his face clearly, just the shape of it, stretched and hidden beneath the hood, as if it doesn't quite fit the body wearing it. They say if you see him, you must not speak to him. Not a greeting, not a question, not even a scream. Because Red-Horned Santa doesn't bring gifts. He takes voices. I heard the story for the first time when I was a kid, sitting on a broken porch with my cousins, listening to the older ones whisper it like a dare. I didn't believe it. None of us did. But belief doesn't matter when something is real. Years later, on a Christmas Eve thick with heat instead of snow, I saw him for myself. I was driving back roads late at night, avoiding the highway, the radio off, the world quiet in a way that made every thought feel too loud. That's when I noticed the house. An old plantation home, half collapsed, its windows dark, its porch sagging like it was tired of holding itself together. Someone stood in the yard. At first I thought it was a shadow. Then it stepped forward. A tall figure in a red coat, standing perfectly still, facing the road as if it had been waiting for me specifically. The hood was pulled low, hiding the face completely. But the horns, I could see them clearly. Dark red, curving upward from beneath the hood, catching the faint light like polished bone. In uneasy whisper, my foot hovered over the brake. I should have driven past, but curiosity is dangerous. I rolled the window down. "Hey, you okay out there?" The words felt wrong the moment they left my mouth, like I had just stepped over a line I couldn't see. The figure lifted its head slightly. I felt pressure in my throat, sudden and tight, like invisible fingers closing gently but firmly around my voice. I tried to speak again. Nothing came out. Not a whisper, not a breath. Red-Horned Santa stepped closer. Each movement was slow and deliberate, as if he wanted me to understand exactly what was happening. The hood shifted just enough for me to glimpse part of his face. Skin stretched too tight, a mouth that didn't move, eyes sunken deep into darkness, watching without blinking. He raised one gloved hand and gently pressed 2 fingers against his own throat. Then he twisted them. Pain flared through my neck, sharp and suffocating, like my voice was being pulled out of me, thread by thread. Memories rushed in all at once, every word I'd ever spoken, every laugh, every scream being stripped away. Red Horn Santa leaned closer. "You offered it." I felt something tear loose inside me. Then, suddenly, the pressure stopped. He stepped back. My voice was gone. Not hoarse, not damaged. Gone. I slammed the gas pedal and drove until my hands went numb and the road blurred, not stopping until the sun began to rise. Doctors couldn't explain it. My throat was fine, my lungs were fine, everything worked, except my voice. They told me it was psychological. But every Christmas since, when the night grows quiet and the air feels too still, I hear something outside. A voice, my voice, calling out from somewhere far away, somewhere near an abandoned house, somewhere Red Horn Santa is still waiting for someone else to speak first.
The one who stands beneath the tree. In some families in Pennsylvania, Christmas lights are never left plugged in overnight, not because of fire hazards, but because of something far older and far less explainable. They believe that if the tree lights turn on by themselves in the middle of the night, glowing only red, then someone else has entered the room. They call it the garter. Not a ghost, not a spirit, not something that knocks or moves, just a presence. The stories say the garter appears when children are being watched too closely, when fear has already settled quietly into a house and is waiting for a reason to grow. It does not touch, it does not speak. It does not speak. It stands beneath the tree and looks at the children as if it is counting something only it can see. And it can only be seen in mirrors. I grew up hearing the story from my grandmother, who unplugged the tree every night without exception, her hands shaking slightly as she did. She never explained why. Until the night the lights turned on anyway. I was 8 years old, half asleep on the couch, when the room filled with a dull red glow that didn't belong to any dream. At first, I thought my eyes were still closed, but when I opened them, the tree was glowing red from top to bottom, every bulb lit evenly, without flickering. Red wasn't one of the colors. The room felt heavier, as if the air itself had thickened, pressing against my chest with slow patience. I tried to call out for my grandmother. My voice wouldn't come. I sat up slowly, my eyes locked on the tree, afraid that if I moved too fast, something would notice. That's when I saw the mirror. It was the hallway mirror, angled just enough that I could see the tree reflected in it. And beneath the branches, in the reflection only, stood a tall shape. It wasn't solid. It wasn't smoke. It looked like a shadow that had learned how to stand upright. Its outline was wrong, shoulders too narrow, arms hanging too long, tapering down like they never quite finished forming. No face, just a darker space where a face should be. I squeezed my eyes shut, counting silently, begging myself to wake up. When I looked again, the shadow was still there, closer. In the mirror, its head tilted slightly, as if it had noticed me noticing it. I understood then why they called it the garter. It wasn't hunting. It wasn't threatening. It was watching, judging, measuring. The red light pulsed faintly, slow and steady, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to anyone in the room. I slid off the couch, my feet barely touching the floor, and tried to move away from the mirror. The garter moved too, not in the room, only in the reflection. Every step I took backward, it stepped forward beneath the tree, never breaking its stare. I felt small, exposed, like something deeply personal was being examined without my permission. The lights grew brighter, and I knew somehow that it wasn't there for me alone. It was there for every child who had ever slept under that roof. Every secret thought, every fear, every moment of weakness. I finally screamed. The sound came out wrong, thin and strained, like my voice had to push through something invisible. The garter didn't react. It simply raised one long arm in the mirror and pointed toward the hallway, toward the bedrooms, toward where children slept. That's when the lights shut off. Instant darkness. The room felt normal again. Too normal. My grandmother burst in moments later, breathing hard, her face pale when she saw the unplugged cord still lying on the floor. She didn't ask what I saw. She already knew. We never spoke about it again. But every Christmas after that, she covered every mirror in the house before nightfall. Sheets, blankets, old towels. Because if you don't look, the garter can't tell whether you're watching it or if it's time for it to start watching more closely. In Pennsylvania, there is an old Christmas warning that parents rarely explain and children only hear when they're already old enough to feel afraid. They say that on certain winter nights, when frost seals the windows from the outside, a small doll may appear on a windowsill, standing perfectly upright as if it has always belonged there. No one knows where it comes from. No one ever sees it arrive. It simply waits. The doll is plain at first glance, dressed in faded winter clothes, its porcelain skin pale and cold, its glass eyes dull, almost unfocused. But something about it pulls attention, like a thought you can't stop returning to once it enters your mind. I first saw it when I was 9 years old on Christmas morning, just as the sun was beginning to rise and the house was still quiet. It stood on my bedroom windowsill, facing inward as though it had been watching me sleep. I didn't scream. I didn't even feel surprised. It felt expected. The glass was cold beneath my fingers as I reached toward it, my breath fogging the window as I leaned closer. The doll didn't move. The doll didn't blink. When I picked it up, the cold bit into my palms immediately, sharper than ice, deeper than winter air. Then it became heavy, not gradually, instantly. The weight dragged at my arms, pulling them down like gravity had doubled, like the doll wanted to sink through me and into the floor. And then it spoke. "Will you leave me here?" The voice didn't come from its mouth. Its lips never moved. The words formed directly behind my ears, soft and pleading, as though the thought wasn't mine, but had borrowed my head to exist. I dropped it. The doll hit the floor and rolled onto its side, suddenly light again, harmless, silent. My heart raced as I backed away, convinced it would move on its own, stand up, crawl back toward me. It didn't. I told myself it was just a toy, a joke, something someone left behind. I carried it outside and set it on the porch, refusing to look at its face as I shut the door. By the time I went back to my room, the windowsill was empty again. I thought it was over. The next morning, the doll was back, standing in the exact same place, facing the bed, waiting. This time, I didn't touch it. I called for my parents, my voice tight and shaking as I pointed toward the window. They didn't see anything wrong. Just a doll. Just a decoration someone must have left by mistake. When my mother picked it up, she smiled. She didn't feel the weight. She didn't hear the whisper. It was only for me. That night, I lay awake, staring at the outline of the doll against the glass, afraid to blink for too long. The moonlight caught its eyes, making them seem brighter, more aware. Then the whisper returned. You didn't answer me. My throat tightened. I wanted to scream for help, but something about the voice made me hesitate. If you leave me here, I won't be alone anymore. I realized then that it wasn't asking about the windowsill. It was asking about me, about whether I would stay. I grabbed the doll again, ignoring the way the weight crushed my arms, the way the cold burned into my skin, and carried it as far from the house as I could. I left it at the edge of the woods, buried beneath snow and dead leaves, and ran home without looking back. That night I slept, deeply, peacefully, until morning. The doll stood on the windowsill again, closer this time. Its glass eyes weren't dull anymore. Thank you for finding me. I didn't understand until years later that the doll never returned on its own. It was waiting for the moment I finally stayed long enough for it to leave.